Hello world, Cosy here with day 3 of Cosmas and this week's roundup of Geek Movie news. Starting off this week with Justice League Doom. Now I talked about this quite a while back. It is the new DC Animated Universe original movie and it's finally got a release date. Unfortunately it's only a release date for the US. That date is the 28th of February next year. It will be released on DVD and Blu-ray. No release date for the UK. This is similar to quite a few of these movies that seem to come out physical disc versions in the UK a little bit later than the US. It has been stated that it will be on demand and also a digital download, so probably similar to the last couple, we'll be able to pick it up on iTunes before we can actually get a physical Blu-ray or DVD copy. For those of you who don't know anything about it, it is actually an adaptation of a JLA storyline from the early 2000s called Tower of Babel. Very interesting storyline. Pick it up on trade paperback if you can and just have a read over it before the movie comes out. I'm a big fan of this storyline and I think you will be too. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do with this adaptation. According to 3 News in New Zealand, Alan Taylor is now the frontrunner to replace Patty Jenkins as director of Thor 2. Hopefully this is a good thing, because the Hollywood Reporter has announced this week that Natalie Portman is very unhappy that Jenkins was let go from the project. And yeah, we need a new director in ASAP. Hopefully Taylor, who has worked on Game of Thrones, will come in and smooth things over, because everyone wants this movie to go into production as soon as possible and meet its proposed release date of sometime in November 2013. Producers Adrian Ascari and Eric Eisner are trying to get Just Cause, the Square Enix video game, to the big screen. Now, they've mentioned that the big screen adaptation is going to be called Just Cause Scorpio Rising, and that they have hired comic book writer Brian Edward Hill to write the screenplay. All sounds good so far. No director or actors linked because it's such early days, but as long as Ubal has nothing to do with this project, then it should be a good one. Heat Vision is reporting that Warner Bros. Are in negotiations with Ava Green to play a major role in the prequel to 300, The Battle of Artemisium. Now, they're actually saying that she's in negotiations to play Artemisia, who's described as a ruthless, gold-covered goddess and one of the main characters of the whole prequel. No other rumours or confirmations of people out who will be starring in other roles yet, but it's good to see that finally Warner Bros. Are getting the ball rolling with the casting for this movie. A movie that a lot of comic book fans and a lot of fans of the original movie are really looking forward to. Bad news about director Alex Proyas' ambitious, to say the least, adaptation of Paradise Lost. As Deadline reports, it's hit a financial snag. Now, Legendary Pictures aren't cancelling the movie. They are simply looking at ways to cut the budget. It's been set at $120 million, and apparently due to a lot of the visual effects and green screen work that will be needed, they would go easily over that amount. So they're looking at how to scale back the amount of money that they'll need to spend on this movie. Very similar to what Disney has done with The Lone Ranger. Hopefully this can get sorted very, very soon, because they do want to go into production of this movie in sort of late spring of next year. If it's pushed back to the summer, we may see some of the stars that have signed on to take major roles not being available, and therefore you need to obviously recast. So yeah, hopefully Legendary Pictures can sort out this sort of financial snag and get Paradise Lost off the ground. In the last couple of weeks I've talked quite a bit about Star Trek 2, the sequel to J.J. Abrams' Star Trek film, which is going into production next year. Mainly about the actors who will play the villain. Now, this week there has been a little bit of news about who that villain could or maybe couldn't be. MTV News spoke to Simon Pegg, who obviously is in the movie playing Scotty, and he said he's seen the script, and so far he's seen no mention of Khan, the famous Star Trek villain from the original series and from the movie Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan. So yeah, there's no mention of him in the script according to Pegg. I am not sure whether this is a confirmation it will be a completely different villain, or maybe another famous villain from the franchise, or whether it's actually one of those times that Hollywood is trying to cover their backs because they don't want the hype, they don't want people to know that such an iconic villain is going to be played by a new actor for a new generation. I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. Vulture caught up with George Lucas this week and was asking him about the progress he's making on Indiana Jones 5. Now, Lucas confirmed that he's got a good idea of the story and what he wants to happen in this 5th Indiana Jones movie. Unfortunately, he's yet to find the real MacGuffin. Now, for those of you who don't know what that means, he's yet to find basically the thing that various people or parties in the movie fight over. Obviously, each of the previous movies has something that everyone wants to get their hands on, and he hasn't thought of what to do for this 5th Indiana Jones movie. After the Crystal Skull and the whole aliens thing, where can it go? That's the question I ask, and I just can't think of an answer. Can you? Variety reports that Keanu Reeves has secured financing to make The Man of Tai Chi, a martial arts action movie, which will also be his directorial debut. Martial artist Tiger Chen is signed on to play the main hero in this movie, and it's rumoured that Reeves himself will play the main villain. Now, none of this is fully confirmed yet, and the shooting does not begin until sometime in February next year in Beijing, but all is sounding positive, and this could definitely be one of those movies to keep an eye on. Finally this week, some James Bond news. Now, producer of the franchise, Mark G. Wilson, was talking in the Sunday People this week about the future of the franchise, and two things came up. Firstly, Daniel Craig, obviously starring in his 3rd Bond movie next year with Skyfall. Wilson stated that he is wanting to negotiate a 5-picture deal to keep Craig as Bond long term, and also making the longest running Bond. He'll actually beat Roger Moore by 1 movie if he does 8 movies. This to me is great. I think Craig has been a fantastic Bond so far. He's been very, very impressive, and yeah, I might even say he's the 2nd best Bond, because obviously everyone knows Sean Connery was and is the greatest James Bond of all time. But yeah, this is a real positive in my book. Secondly, Wilson's also stated he'd like to get all of the actors who have played Bond together next year for something special, because it's the 50th anniversary of the Bond franchise. That, for me, as a Bond fan and a massive Bond fan from childhood, would be absolutely fantastic. I'd love to see all those actors get together, even if it was just for a documentary to talk about Bond, or to do like a one-night show where they get Q&A about Bond, whatever. This would be a really good idea, and hopefully Wilson and everyone in charge of the Bond franchise can make this happen. Okay guys, that's all for this week's Geek Movie News. If you like this video, as always down there you click the like button, you let me know about it. If you want to subscribe to my channel and you're not already, you click on this ugly mug and you get to subscribe to my channel. If you want to leave a comment, comment boxes are down there. Also down there is the description box. You click on that and you can find the links to my Facebook fan page and also my Twitter, and obviously follow me, find out what's going on in the world of this channel, and a little bit about what's going on in the world of me also. If you missed last week's Geek Movie News, there's a link just there. You can click on that, pop out and see that. If by any chance you missed yesterday's Cosmas video, you click there and you get to see that also. I was also involved recently in a music video shoot, acting in it, and if you want to see that, then there's a link just at the bottom here. You can click on that and you can see it. Go and have a look, see what you think, let me know. Thanks guys, as always, until next time, au revoir.